One of the questions that I've had to wrestle with, and honestly, I know a lot of other people have had to wrestle with, is why is heaven limited? Why can't it just be that God lets everyone in? And as I wrestle with that, as I look through the Bible, it became pretty clear that not everyone is allowed into heaven. But yet that was kind of troubling. And I've wrestled with, well, how is that loving? How is that good? How can that be right? And a few years ago, I came across an example in my life that helped me to see it in a new way. I was on a summer mission project, and my boys were young at the time, but old enough to play football. And there were a couple other young boys on the project, and they liked playing football, and I'd play football with them. I'd be like the quarterback, and they'd play 2-on-2 or 3-on-3 or whatever. And so they would have fun playing these games, and other little kids noticed. And there were these two little kids specifically who noticed, and they wanted to play. And so when they came and asked to play, I said, well, sure, you guys can play. But there was a problem when they played. See, they would take the ball and just run off with it. Or they would just unexplainably lay on the football. Didn't really make any sense. And it kind of ruined the game for the other boys. So while I didn't want to just write them off, at the same time, I wanted the game to be what the game was, a special, fun time. So what I did with those little kids is I explained to them how to play. And I took time going through and explaining, okay, well, this is how you play the game. But also emphasize that there were certain rules and things that you just couldn't do. You couldn't just run off with the ball and just run away with it. And you couldn't just lay on the football. And it became clear to those kids, at least as far as I could tell. And so they tried to play again. They asked to play, and I let them play. And they did the same things. And they said, you know what? This is how we like to play. And I had a tough decision at that point, because what they were doing was ruining the game for the other kids. But I did like these kids, and I did want them to be able to play, and I didn't want them to be sad. But as I looked at the situation, I thought, kids, you guys can't play anymore. I made the decision because the value of that game to the other kids was worth upholding the game as it should be. And so the kids were sad, and honestly, their parents were kind of frustrated too. But I felt it was the right decision. And as I looked at that, I thought, wow, that sure seems to be what God is doing. As I've learned about heaven, as I've learned about the gospel, I've learned that God has created heaven as a perfect place, a wonderful place, a place of joy, a place to be and enjoy Him and His blessings as well. And the only problem with creating such a beautiful, wonderful, perfect place is He's made it clear that nothing imperfect will enter. That's a problem, and none of us can be perfect. So somehow we need to be perfected to be able to go in. And that's what Christ was all about on the cross and in the resurrection. He made a way for us to be perfected. And if people reject that, man, just like I try to teach those kids and make it as clear as possible to them, if these people have it so clear to them and they have the Bible, they have understanding, and they reject Christ, it makes sense to me that, okay, well, that's what heaven is going to be. And if you want to be that under what it is, that's great. Come on in. But if not, no, you're not going to be in. Now, it's still hard to think about people who reject Christ not being in heaven. But that illustration, that picture that I saw in my life helps me to understand more and more about why God would be loving in maintaining a perfect heaven. That's a huge blessing for people who go there, even if it means keeping people out.